Hey guys, this is Mr. McGuire. Just real quick, I wanted to show you the new process of how to do the Twin Day. We got a lot of good video, or excuse me, we got a lot of pictures from Twin Day, and so we're going to use what we have. I've got a few more that I'm going to put on using the iPads. But real quick, I want you to go to assignments. I want everybody to check this out. Just watch it. And obviously, there's some people still need to do the crazy sock day removal just to show you the process. Just a real quick understanding of how to do it. You didn't have to really do a ton. Just I want to make sure that you all understood the process. Here's Soraya Burton's. If you want to look at it really quickly, just to kind of get an idea on the process of how it should look. Okay, so those are Miss Shaver's socks from Crazy Sock Day, but the next project is going to be the Twin Day. So here's what I want you to do. First thing I want you to do is you open up the assignment, and I've got the Twin Day folder right here. So I'm going to review a few things that we're going to do, and even if I'm present, we're going to use this as a demonstration video to kind of help you with this process. And if you notice, I've got some really good pictures here that I've added, some from Mr. Jones and Miss Pyatt and Mr. Taylor. A lot of great student pictures. You all have done a great job with that. And so that'll be great. So anyway, what we're going to do, just a couple of things you all need to note. I'm going to close some windows here just to ensure that you all are focused on this. Please pay attention. The couple things you need to do first, you need to open up the remove.bg website, okay? And then the next thing you need to do is go to Adobe Express. So it's spelled Adobe Express, and then you hit enter and go into the website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log out as me, and just so you can see, just for some of you all that are still struggling, you go to sign in, then you go into your Google, like you do with most of the software that we use in this class. And then you always want to select the enterprise ID because it's a school account. So now you're in, you're ready to go. You're going to let it load. So you need to open up those two, the Remove BG, because we did that for Sock Day, and the Adobe. So I'm going to start the project. I want you to work with me and see this process. You have all the Twin Day pictures. Now, some of these pictures, we talked about extensions, the JPG extension versus the HEIC. So that being said, we're going to type in HEIC to JPG, and that's a converter, okay? And the one I like to use is the freeconvert.com, and we talked about that today in class. So what I'm going to do is, let's say I want to use this Twin Day here with Ms. Collins. I'm going to double finger tap, or I can open it up, okay? Let me open it up here, and I'm going to download it, okay? It's an HEIC file, right? You see where it's an HEIC file. Then I'm going to take the converter, and I'm going to choose files, or in this case, I'm just going to drop it in, okay? Convert to JPG file. So it uploads, and then it gives you an option of what file or what type of file you want it to convert to. In this case, I'm going to convert it to a JPEG file. Now, if you would like and you want to go next step, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the folder here. That way, if anybody wants to use this one, they're going to use a JPEG file, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of I'm going to remove the HEIC file, okay? Even though it says Collins, Sarah, Twin Day, HEIC, as long as it says .jpeg, it can be used, okay? So, like, for example, here's one with Miss Simpson. If you want to use that one, that's pretty cool as well, to kind of promote what we're doing with Twin Day. So I've got all grade levels here represented. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into Adobe Express like always. Now, this is very important. Please make sure you pay attention. You're going to hit the plus sign, and in this case, you're going to hit the custom size graphic, because remember, we're doing a spread for our yearbook. Okay, so when we look at Encore, and this is just something that I want to show you in the process of working on the yearbook and how we've been doing it. So let me launch Encore real quick. So each page that we have on Encore is going to be, an 8.5 by 11. Okay, so this is our spread that we've been looking at for the last couple weeks, about a month. Okay, so you got guidance and support, 8th grade. We're going to continue to work through that. So we'll say these are the spirit days. We'll start with Crazy Sock Day. So if I open this up, you have your spread. So basically, that's an 8.5 by 11 on page 28, and that's an 8.5 by 11 on page 29, and that's what I'm trying to get across to you. There's a lot of things you can do. We can come in here and we can add pictures and things like that, or we can add, I'm going to undo that. There's a lot of cool stuff that can be done with the way Encore works. And I know y'all are ready to go to use Encore, so there's a lot of cool stuff that can be done as far as graphics. Like, if I want to do a custom template, and I do or if I do a graphics template, or if I do so many photos, or whatever the case may be, if I want to place that on the spread, that's what that looks like. So if that's kind of like the 8th grade pictures or the 6th or 7th grade pictures. So I'm going to undo that. You can also manually put pictures in there like that. But what we're going to do today is we're going to work on Adobe Express to show the process. Okay, so understand what is inside the blue is an 8.5 by 11. So when I go to Adobe Express, we're going to choose print and go to letter, which is an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper, or in our case, it's going to be part of the yearbook. Okay. All right. So now we're doing Twin Day. We're focusing on Twin Day. All right. So what you can do is you can come over here, and we talked about it today. You can type in infographics. Okay. If you want to use a certain type of template for the graphics. Now, the cool thing about Encore is, we haven't really gotten deep into it, but we're going to. There's backgrounds in here, there's templates in here, and all that cool stuff that we're going to access. And then I'll talk to you more about it. You can drop, texts on here. There's shapes that you can add and all that good stuff. So we'll talk more about it. These are ways that we can flow. There's just all kinds of different things that can be done. Okay. So what we're going to do with Adobe is we're going to choose one of these. So let's say I'm going to just choose that one. Okay. That was the one that I thought that was cool. It had a cool little background. And, it had the dots there. I thought it was really nice. So we're going to go in here, make sure it's sized as 8.5 by 11. Here's the example. Let's say I choose the influencer marketing. That's obviously not 8.5 by 11. So before you start working on it, if you look at it, let me come over here. Wait a minute. I'm going to click resize. And if you notice, I want to go down to where it says 8.5 by 11 if you really want to use that one. And that's fine. You see what I did? I just changed where it said 8.5 by 11. The piece of paper, the size of the yearbook page. Okay. Now from there, I'm going to start doing some cool stuff. I'm going to go in there, and we're going to go in here and say Twin Day. Let me undo. Remember, Control Z is your undo. I can go in there and change your background to a Crawford color. Remember, Crawford is 00B, 050. You want to try to stay within the same color schemes. So I'm going to go in here, instead of saying influencer marketing, I'm going to put Twin Day. Okay. And I'm going to leave it lowercase. I don't know, just kind of what I'm feeling right now. Then you also can move it around, or whatever the case may be. Now, what I'm looking for is this. I'm looking for a page. This is what I was talking about today with Sock Day. I'm looking for a page that we can, put some different types of things on that really jumps out at us when we're looking at the yearbook. Okay. So like, for example, an infographic is when you add text or whatever the case may be. So in this case, we're going to say Crawford Twin Day, or let me say here, Crawford Twin Day, students and staff honor each other by dressing alike. Something to that effect. It's a positive take on the creed. Make sure you spell everything correctly, and I'm just going to leave it at that for right now. Got a couple, things I need to work with there. But that is a cool way to do it. Now, if I want to come in here and I want to make the text go to the right, I want to make the text go to the center. In this case, let's make it text go to the left. Okay. Now, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with that. I'm going to go in here and delete some of the text because I don't want that right there. But I do want to keep what's down there because I really like that texture. And I'm going to leave the 7 out of 10 because I don't know what I'm going to do with it. All right. So how do you insert? We're going to click Photos. Okay. And there's a couple things you can do. If you want to connect your Google Drive, you connect your Google Drive to add photos. And we called it Twin Day. So let's work smarter, not harder. And I'm going to type in Twin Day, and it should pop up Twin Day right there. Okay, and there it is. So instead of going and downloading it to your Chromebook or your PC or the Mac, whatever the case may be, I'm going to choose this. Now remember, the only problem is if you're using an HEIC file, you got to convert it using that. But otherwise, you're good. So let's use Miss Pickhock and Miss Damon. Miss Pickhock obviously is not pregnant, but she's pretending like she is, and it's pretty cool. So let's select that one. So I want to show you the reason why you want to pull the background out. Okay, so the problem is we got this nice green tone with a nice texture, but then you have that picture. Okay, which you might want to use that picture. However, I personally want to pull the picture or the background out. So in that case, you're going to have to remove the background. If you want to remove the background, then I've got to download that and then have my remove BG, put it in there. And then from there, and remember, if you put anything in remove.bg, it's got to be a JPEG or a PNG file. It's got to be the right type of file. So there you go. Now the background's gone. I'm going to download it. That's great. And then we're going to go back to Express. Now, if you can click upload photo like that, and you can go to your recents, and that's the easiest way for me since I'm doing it on a Mac. I'm just going to drop it in there, and now that's better. Okay, so I can move them around, do whatever I want to do. Click on it. I can make it larger. It's, I can, if I want to make it the opacity a little bit more where the background shows through, but I don't really want to do that for that because the quality of the color is really good. So that turned out good. So we got Twin Day. Now, in this case, this is when you can do some infographics where you're actually giving, kind of like, something specific to what's going on right there. So you could say, for example, Ms. Pickhock is dressing like Ms. Damon as she is expecting very soon. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that a little bit smaller, because obviously you don't want the words to take over. You want a nice balance between your infographic. It's got to be informative, but you want a graphic there. So I'm gonna do the justified over, okay, and I'm gonna drop it right beside them, and I'm gonna even make it a little bit smaller. Now remember, this right here will bring it to the top, okay. It'll bring it to the top where you can kind of like overlap this a little bit, and then if you wanted to come in here and add a design asset and kind of do a smiley face, smiling, which that doesn't really work. So let's go to the shapes. The difference between the design assets and the shapes are more two-dimensional, as you see, and the design assets look like they're three-dimensional, So let's go smiling, see what they got there. You could add some things that are pretty cool. So let's drop this one in there just to see what it looks like. Just to add to, the balance of the piece. Now, obviously, that right there doesn't work because it's kind of like a highlighter there. So I really would go in there and change the color to kind of that same tone, right? If you want to get the exact color, you can come in here. Go ahead and copy that hex code by, Control C, and then come in there and copy that, paste that hex code right into there, which is Control V. And that's probably the same one, but I was double checking because you want it to all match. Okay, so we're going to go behind Miss Peacock and do a little smiley face right there, where that accentuates. If you want to move it over a little bit, you just hit the arrow, and then we're going to go behind them. Okay, so that really kind of adds to the mix. Miss Peacock is dressing like Mrs. Damon, as she's expecting very soon. That really cool, that adds a really cool infographic. Okay. Now, there's another one in here, which, I know me and Miss Simpson are buddies, so we're going to go ahead and drop this one in here. And I think you all think this is cool. A lot of y'all had Miss Simpson, so this is a cool one here. Well, here's the problem. Guess what? It's an HEIC, so what I need to do, I need to go in there. I need to drop it in my converter. So let's go to my converter. I got to reset it. And here we go. Choose a file. We drop it in there and convert JPG. Now, I will say this is a free version, so if you convert a bunch, it won't allow you to do it you can only do like 10 or 12, but you only need to do like, 6 or, up to 6, I would say. So I'm going to download this one, and then now I'm going to put this one in my infographic. Okay, there you go. Now, what did I have? I got the background. Don't want the background. Okay. Well, maybe in this case, I do want the background because I got it's set up correctly, and it wouldn't probably look right if you did not have the background. So I'm thinking here, instead of twin day being in the center, I'm going to drop it there. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to put it on the top right against the corner. Okay. Now remember, you can't go outside of the blue line when you're working on Encore, which is 8.5 by 11, as we went through it. Okay, so now we're going to be right here, and I'm going to say, I'll say, can you pick out the teacher? Okay, and she'll think that's funny, and I'm going to show her this video, that way she knows, that we're doing that, and I'm going to come in here and I'll make that smaller, to maybe like a 24 or something like that, or you can even make it wider where it's more like something like that. Can you pick out the teacher? And that's kind of cool because, there's a lot of kids that were all black. They did a blackout. These are all 7th grade students, so they all took part in Twin Day, and I thought it was cool because they did something like that. Now, if you want to add some 3-dimension to it, there's a lot of ways you can do it. One cool thing, if you want to drop some filters on there, it changes the color, which I wouldn't recommend because you really want to see the main picture there, okay? As far as enhancements, you can do some enhancements with your brightness. You can go all the way bright, or you can always dark. You can do some contrasting values, which, you can play with it. And what I would recommend, if you're going to do that within your piece, you can do a shadow, a little bit of a shadow, because that really sharpens and makes that picture really cool, creates a little bit more, excuse me, a little bit more of a shadow and makes it 3-dimensional, as we talked about before. So there are some examples there. So this is the start of an infographic that's really cool. There's a little part right here that has like this. I want to show this texture, and I want it to be more bold, if you will. I want it to be seen a little bit more. So what I did is I pulled it up, and I'm going to drop it down like that. Now, if I went opacity all the way up, it's going to take away from my piece. But I don't want it all the way down here where you can't really see it. I want it to be able to be seen because it kind of gives, instead of it just being a green background, it's got some texture. Okay? So obviously, like every project, you're going to first name and last name, Twin Day, we'll just call it Twin Day Design, I guess, if you want to call it that. You know what I mean? And then let's say when you're done, when you get done, you need to fill the whole space. Okay, you need to fill the whole space. But just for the sake of time, I'm going to cut the video here. But before you do, you're going to download it. You're going to download it as a JPEG. Could be a PNG as well. That's fine. PNG is actually a higher quality file. I'm going to download that. and then I'm going to come back over to my project and your assignments. You're going to choose your twin day project. Let me go to student view and let me log out real quick. 1 second. Because I've got to publish that now. We're good to go. Let me go to student view. And then pretty simply, you start assignment, upload the file. You choose the file, which is going to be in your recents, and you submit. Okay. So let's go ahead and get that done. Please work hard, and we'll continue to work on it on Thursday. Talk to you tomorrow.